lecture will be recorded. So, all right, like I said, lots to do today, so we'll get started. We are recording, we're gonna share screen as always. Hope you all had a happy Halloween and stayed safe. So here's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, just to give you an overview, because I realized I was talking to a student this weekend. I had advising hours on Saturday because I've just been so packed. So I worked pretty much all day Saturday doing advising. And a student said, oh yeah, I totally get up for my 8 o'clock class, just turn the Zoom on, and then I go back to sleep. So it doesn't surprise me, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with surveys. We're going to then go over to see how you did with the statistics homework and eventually get to t-tests and some correlation. So for those of you who have your surveys active, that means you are actively collecting data and you can see your numbers here as they're coming in. Now, the goal, obviously we're going to end up working with whatever data we can get, but the goal is 200. That was my goal anyway. I've got one group halfway there already, so that's amazing. Obviously, we've got another one climbing. I sent one groups out on my Facebook because they're looking specific for a very specific group that I may have more contacts with. And if we need to, we'll resort back to having the class do them. I was hoping not to have the class do them if we didn't want to, or if we didn't have to. That's just because we kind of know our class and I don't want to put too much bias into it, but I'll take numbers and data wherever I can get it. So hang on to that. We won't do it today, but we can have the class take it if your numbers are lower and we need to boost them up. I'm more worried about the 5 surveys in here that are not active yet. So I know this is a review for some of you who have them active. Oh, by the way, this survey is good to go. If there's a group member out there going, heck, that's my survey, I recognize that, you are good to go. You need to publish it. Then after that, you're going to go to distributions, click on the anonymous link, and get a link to start sending it out on social media. So my romantic relation affection survey is good to go. Here is one, and I just want to help folks out. We do need to put, there was a lot of confusion in how to number and where's my disclaimer? How do I get that here? Remember, we don't have an option, so we're going to add a question, and we're just going to add descriptive text. And see, it's saying it's 124, but this is where you're going to put your disclaimer. So whoever survey this is, I'm editing right now, you need to go back and put your welcome and disclaimer and tell them it's anonymous. A lot of people didn't do that. So you need to go back and put that in. How do you change this number? Real easy. Delete. Gone. So some of you were emailing in and asking me, but how do I change the numbers? You click on it and change it. So this one, once those are in, and I don't see in this one where I want some more directions. So anytime you need directions, just click in wherever you want them. Okay, go back up here and hit descriptive text. And then that's going to insert just a blank box where you can type directions in. Does that make sense? I have a pretty wide view on my gallery, but I'm not, so far as I know, I'm not seeing any hands.
Yes.
Okay, I got one yes, so I'll move on from that. But if you have questions, let me know. And this is going to be recorded, obviously, so you could go back and look at that. And otherwise, this survey, well, whoops, I could go back to that one. Had some, did it? Yeah, this, we want to change this as well. I wanted everyone to be 1 to 5 and never use 0, because 0 is, it messes with your data. So we're going to want to go back and change this whole question. And we can do that. Let's click on this question. I'm not sure how this question, is kind of messed up. Oh, I see you've got them scrolling down. We need to change this. So whoever's group this is, we need to talk because this is not going to work. This all needs to be 1 through 5. So there's that. Again, I saw another survey. This has no disclaimer, no anything on it. At least they've got my 1 through 5 here. So I am happy about that. But let's go ahead and again, add that blank text box, descriptive text in, so you can put your beginning questions here and your directions. People need directions. They just don't want to be dropped in and not know what they're answering. So make sure you're putting those directions into the survey. On this question here, we've got our edit multiple choices. That's where they've got their multiple choices in there. Now, have you associated these multiple choices with a number? I'm curious how there should be a number on here. So that could be problematic if you're not seeing a number associated with them. Talk to me. Talk to me. Let's see, last one. What problems do we see? I do not have permission, first of all. Okay, I got the same kind of issues again. I don't have any directions whatsoever. So I need to go back in and click. Let's do a descriptive text box. And right here, I can write my directions and disclaimer. Okay, you'll have to go back in and edit that. Boom. Let's get rid of that question and I'm good to go. So I'm hoping that I cleared up just a little bit. Most of you got these in here. Again, I'm not seeing any numbers associated with the agree or strongly disagree. So that worries me a little bit. But hopefully we've cleaned some of that up just now. So let's see. Actually, I guess the numbers don't need to be there. And you can get fancy. I realize a lot of you just said, I just want the damn thing in Qualtrics, but I will show you one that was nice and give that group props for doing it. They even have their title of their survey clearly there. They got a nice picture of the School of Communication. They have their disclaimer. They have their clear directions and showing of the scale here. That's what I'm looking for, guys. Here's another one, and notice the question numbers are gone. So this is beautiful. This is where we want to get. So for those people still struggling on getting your survey where it needs to be to get active, I've got to begin about 4 groups, and I think I might even be missing one group's survey altogether. We should chat. Shoot me an email, say, hey, my group needs help. Today is a pretty mellow day for me after I get through classes this morning. So I will have time to meet and help those groups who are still struggling with their surveys. All right, now over to our module. How was the statistics homework? Did you love my video? That's a no. Huh?
It was helpful to like do this assignment and watch the video at the same time.
No, okay, good. I want to say I was a little sarcastic in it, if you picked up on that, and I probably didn't mean to be. We all are going through different things with virtual learning, even professors. So I might have gotten a little carried away with the specificity of the steps. But I do think that's the way to go, because I pretty much, I think, walked you right through it. So I do apologize for the sarcasm that probably wasn't needed, but it had been a long day. So thank you for saying it walked you right through it. That's this little intro to SPSS video right here. If you did not have time to watch that, that probably might have set you back a little bit. I should mention any of my videos that you want to access, not that you want to go back and watch my videos, but they're all on my YouTube channel here. And you can watch any of these. Any videos that I make are still up here from any past semester even. I've got not only quant, but all kinds of different, I've got all my leadership videos up here if you're struggling in that class, but they're all here for you. So how many of you watched this one? Can I see how many views? 0 comments, 7 views. 7 people have viewed this video. Way to go.
I don't think it actually counts views when it's like linked into Canvas.
No,
So-
it doesn't. Thank you. I won't bag on you guys too much today. So hopefully that went well and walked you through the homework. Should have been really super simple. Any questions about the homework that you wanted to ask me that you didn't get or didn't understand? I'm not seeing hands. I got a little crazy in the video and I started even going into t-tests and things like that. So let's take a look at what's happening. There in this inferential statistics box later today is going to appear today's lecture. And that is going to be on t-tests. What I'm also going to do, because I think it was helpful, is make a video this week that walks you through how to run a t-test in SPSS. And I won't be as sarcastic in it, but I will be as specific to literally show you the steps. What's interesting here is if you looked at the t-test chapter in the book, do you remember this thing? Which probably not, but it spends the majority of the time teaching you how to calculate it by hand. So there's really only about 4 pages in this whole chapter that become important, because I'm not teaching you how to calculate everything. So I want to just talk about conceptually what a t-test is today, and then we're going to go back and talk a little bit more about SPSS and how to work in SPSS. So if you remember from 350, a t-test is, I would say, T for 2 groups. We want to compare the mean of 2 groups. So your book calls this something very interesting, by the way. It's an independent samples t-test. And I ignored that back in 350 because I just thought it was too much, but we're now in quant, so we need to go there. This is 2 independent samples. So like males versus females, it's exactly what we're trying to look at. The independent t-test allows research to examine the difference. Now, this is the part you're going to hate me for, on interval or ratio variables between 2 nominal variables. All that's saying is a t-test is always between a nominal variable, male, female. Some of you, do you want to run a t-test for ethnicities, Latino versus African American? That would be a t-test between 2 nominal variables if you wanted to see if there was a difference. We did that in a study abroad project I was working on because we wanted to see if there was a difference in study abroad trips and how much someone had been abroad between Caucasian and African American, to see if there were if there were differences between the 2 races. That's a nominal variable. So you're always looking at, again, dependent variable, interval, or ratio data. That's basically what you're looking at. And the independent variable must be nominal data because that's the grouping variable. That's who we're comparing, male, female. Could be race. Could it be income brackets? Yeah, that would be nominal. So some of you have income in your survey or education level. Say, I want to compare high school graduates with a graduate degree or beyond and see if there's a difference between those 2 groups in communication competence. Communication competence is an interval or ratio variable, and we're going to compare it on 2 nominal variables. So that's what we're doing. That is the conceptualization of the t-test, just taking 2 groups and comparing the mean of many different variables. Remember, I can compare a lot of different variables at one time. I can throw multiple dependent variables into the equation. So I wanted to go back and show you a t-test real quick and what it looks like. Whoops, that will work. Turn off subtitles. We don't need those. If you remember, I wonder if it's actually in. Did anyone get a chance to look at the student paper or find that overwhelming? And yes, my name is on it because I did work on this paper towards a conference paper after it was done. She's got a correlation matrix. I don't know if she did a t-test. I thought I'd just look through. Nope, a regression, t-test. And notice how these tables are very small. I'm not asking you to do huge statistical analysis. You don't have a ton of variables. But this particular young lady at Point Loma wanted to look at between male and female, look at the numbers. We've got good data, a good amount of data, and it just tells us the mean difference. So who has more religious strength? Put it in the chat box. Someone besides Riley or Alinka. Don't answer. I know you know.
That's rude.
Was it? I'm sorry. You're the
No,
one who
I'm
would
kidding.
tell me.
I'm kidding.
Who has more religious strength? Males or females? You can shout it out too if you're asleep and you don't want to type. Hey, I got one. Who has more religious strength? What's the higher mean here? Getting better. It is females. Females. They have a higher mean. Now, I know maybe it threw you off because you might have been looking for a 1 to 5 scale. I think she used a 1 to 7, which is fine. I'm standardizing certain things for you guys just to make it easier. Who self-discloses more, males or females?
Females.
Females. Thank you. Females. And this one's great. Who goes to chapel more, males or females?
Females.
Females. And who has interactions with their professors more? Females. So that's all a t-test does. 2 groups, and we compare those. And we can do that on multiple variables. Multiple variables, 2 groups, always a nominal grouping variable up here. Typical nominal grouping variables are basically looking at your demographic sections and saying, for those of you doing family stuff, a lot of you are going to want to look at family for comparing divorced parents with married parents. You're going to run a t-test and see, did their conflict styles differ? Did their parenting styles differ? That's conceptually what a t-test is. Now, I started to get into this a little bit in the video, but it gets a little, I don't want to say harder. I don't think anything is harder, but in order to run a t-test, did you notice that in order to run a t-test, I had to do something called summating your variables. And this is very tedious, but we have to do it. So we are going to learn again. I'm going to show you again how to summate your variables. You're going to summate your variables for every interval or ratio variable in your study. So basically what we're doing is we're not just getting the average of one person, we're getting the average of every single person who answered that question. That's what a summation of variables is. Because I no longer want to just pull the individual question. I want to be able to pull all communication competence and look at what that said. So we have to summate our variables. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Again, once your variables are summated, then you can calculate your t-test. The t-value simply comes from a table. You look up your number and it tells you if it's statistically significant or not. Based on the confidence interval you set, you determine if the t-test is significant. And this is where it gets tricky. Remember when we talked about hypothesis testing? Because that's the one I was worried that that lecture may have gone over over everyone's head. So I brought it back up. When we talk about a confidence interval, all that is saying is what percent of the time do I want to be right? Is 95% good enough? 99%? 99.9%? 80%? For researchers, we almost always function right here. These are the three levels. We say, I have to be at least 95% confident that my finding is not due to chance, that it's definitely exists and there is a difference. So we're always looking at least p less than 0.05. That's all we're saying when we talk about a confidence level. We want to have confidence that what our finding is saying is absolutely correct. We leave 5% chance that we're wrong, but that's not that high. Most of you would bet on those odds. It's kind of like if you probably could have bet last night 95% that Dallas was going to lose to Philadelphia. I would have taken it at the p less than 0.001 level that they were going to lose. All right. Hypothesis testing. Now, again, this is being recorded and we're going to go over it again, folks, because I know there are people out there who want to run a t-test. You have research questions based around finding differences between two groups. So we now introduce two new statistical tests. Levine's test of equality of variance. We want, again, a significance level below or at 0.05. Now, when we run this test, we assume equal variances. Let me explain what this means. When I begin, much like a null hypothesis, I assume there is equality between the two groups, or that there is no difference between males and females. I assume that both groups are equal. So when we look at Allison's t-test here, going in as the researcher, I assume males are no different than females. So I always want to run equal variances assumed. I'm going to assume that. Then if I get below this 0.05, it's telling me they're not equal, which means there's something different about them that's statistically significant. We will not follow up and run equal variances not assumed. What that would say is you're already saying they're different. We are always going to run the equal variance assumed. Does that make sense what we're saying about the two groups? We're assuming the two groups are equal. If we find that there is a statistical significance, that means it's saying they are not equal. That's a t-test. I'm already done with t-tests. That's all I need to say about them conceptually. Now, running them in SPS is going to be a harder feat, simply just because of what we have to do in learning the program. So I'm going to open this file again, hopefully, and pull up SPSS, which takes a long time. And hopefully everyone got it downloaded. I know some people were very concerned about downloading it on their computer. And I showed you a couple of different things that I kind of want to go back and talk about now that we are in SPSS. Oh, you know, I should have pulled up a different data set. How do I do that? File, open, data. I don't want this one. October 25th. Yeah, let's open that one. The reason I'm doing that is because I think I already have my summated oh no, it's not. All right, well, that's all right. I was looking for the one I did the summation on. Maybe I didn't save it. All right, two views in SPSS, data view, variable. We're gonna go into variable view. How are you guys on when I said when your questions come up that you're going to have to relabel these or essentially put your code book in? And so the more questions you have, guess what? The more labels you have to change. So I went in, I changed these labels. You are going to do that as well. Let's go back out to our data view. Remember, I said you get a lot of other stuff in SPSS you don't need. We really are interested right here in these ruler columns and our data. So we have to summate our variables. I want to talk through that again real quick so it works out that this is not done. We're going to go up to, and reverse scoring. Did you guys get the reverse scoring thing?
No, not really.
Okay, thanks. If you have variables that are questions that were reverse scored, you got to reverse score them because people answered them, but we've now got to flip those numbers. Just like when you're taking a self-assessment in class and you have to add it differently and reverse them, now we've got to add it differently. So that's one of the very first things. And again, we don't have our data yet, but as we start getting our data in a couple weeks, this is what all the rest of the classes are going to be about, is just how to work through SPSS. So we are going to transform and recode into same variable. We're changing the coding pattern, okay? If I had reverse questions, then I could put them in here. I'll just say question 1 was a reverse question. I'll put that in, and then I have to do old and new values. Okay, so what does it mean when we reverse score? It means when we have a 1, it becomes what? A 5.
Five.
Yeah, add. 2 becomes a new value 4, add. So what this is going to do is you only need to do this on questions you marked with an R. Some of you may not have reverse questions at all in your survey. But one of the first things once you have your complete data set is to go in and change any of the questions that were reverse score. We can put 3 and 3 in here. I just always do it. I don't know why. A 4 becomes a 2. And of course, a 5 becomes a 1. And we're just going to hit continue, and it's automatically going to reverse everybody's score for those questions. Isn't that cool? Just going to do it for you. But just like we have to change those numbers when we're doing self-assessments in class, we have to now go back in and reverse score our data that everyone else answered. So that's one of the first things we're going to do when we get our complete data set is reverse score. The next thing we're going to do is summate certain variables. And we do that through transform and compute variable. This is our summation. So I want to sum all of these text messages questions. I want an overall, how did everyone answer on this? So I am going to click, click, click. Why is it? Talk about mouse is not working. Display variable names, sorry. I'm going to call this my sum text. And if you saw how I did this, we want to take every single question and come out with a summated response for each question of how everyone answered it. So we always start with our brackets and then we add in question 1 plus question 2 plus. Yeah, you're going to do this for every summated variable. I was like, who just drew on my screen? There's ghosts in here. I didn't draw that green circle. I swear to God. All right. See what I'm doing? Does anyone remember what I do after I get all these in here? Any idea? You should know. You will know by the end of this class. Then you're going to divide this whole equation by the number of questions. And there are 15 of those questions. So yeah, this takes a while. I got it again. Anytime you get into analyzing data, it's a very detailed process and takes a little bit of time. And finally, question 15. Go outside the bracket, divided by 15. And I'm just going to hit OK. And it says it executed. It added all my variables together and summated them all into one nice scale. Boom. I'm done. And the column now appears there. So this is the summated view of everybody's totals. This is not just one question, but all of it. Now I'm ready to run a t-test. So I'm going to go up and analyze. I'm going to compare means because remember, that's what a t-test is. I'm comparing the means. It's independent samples, male and female. So now, what is my test variable? Well, it's this summated variable. And what is my grouping variable? It's going to be 17, which is my gender, and it's going to ask me to define groups. And remember, I defined group 1 as male being 2 and group 3 as female being 3. Those are my two grouping variables. Am I ready to do this now? Let's check options. That looks good. 95, did you see my confidence interval? 95%. Okay, I'm going to hit okay. Boom. This is an output of a t-test. So let's talk about how to read this. This is looking at the differences on text message dependency between males and females. Remember, we're going to look to the F-test and we're going to look to this significance column. Do I have a significant finding here based on the confidence level of 95%? What does this have to be under? This significance level right here. Got nothing. I lost you all.
0.05.
0.05. You got it. There is no significant difference between text message dependency between males and females. I can't say with a 95% accuracy, I can't say there's a difference. You're both text message dependent, folks. That's what that means right there. Equal variances were assumed, and guess what? There was no, they're still equal because I did not find anything significant. That's okay. When you don't find something significant, it's actually still a finding and people get frustrated by that. But we're basically saying, no, actually men and women are equally text message dependent. You can assume that the both groups are equal. I did find a difference in the video because what I went back and did, instead of summating text message dependency as a whole variable as just one, remember I went back out and parsed it into the subvariables. If you watched the video, you saw that. I will do that. I can do that. I can go transform compute variable. I'm going to take all this crap out and I'm just going to do the middle bank 6 because I know there's a difference there and I want you to see what happens again. So I'm going to put 6 in or not. I missed that. So sometimes I screw up too. It happens. I'm going to put question 6 in plus question 7 plus question 8. And you start to see why your code book gets so important. Question 9 plus question 10. How many questions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to divide that by 5. I'm going to call this excessive use sum and hit OK. This tells me I did the procedure. Thank you very much. And look, it's here in my column. Now I can run a t-test just on this. So let's go back up to analyze. Remember, we're comparing two means. Where's our compare means? Independent samples t-test. Let's take this bad boy out and let's put this one in. Boom, my grouping variable is the same. I'm going to hit OK. Let's see what happens. Did it not? Oh, it does. Why did that come out differently? There should be a significant difference there. And sometimes it doesn't work. It's giving it to me on a two-tailed. I'd have to go back and look at that. I think that might have come out wrong. Gotta love it when that happens. Because see, now I'm not getting this. When I ran it earlier, I thought I got a significant finding. So I have to go back and look at where I got that. But one of them, when I did it, I got this significance 0.0. And if I did get that significance under 0.05, we could say I had that they're not equal. So I'm not sure why that didn't calculate out, but I might have clicked something wrong. This class is being recorded, and I am going to do another video that walks you through the t-test. I'm going to have to recalculate that one because I really did think that one was significant. And I'm not sure why it came out that way. And that puzzles me when I work with data. One time I'll do it and I'll get something, and the next time I try to rerun the same thing, maybe it's different. And it could be any number of things you might have clicked on or did to the data to change it. But I think I remember that being significant in the video. All right, I'm going to move away from that and come back to our module here. And conceptually, does this t-test I know it kind of just got confusing there on that last one because it didn't show a significant difference, and I think there is one. Do you conceptually understand what a t-test is? How many of you think you have a t-test in your research project that you want to run? Give me a hands up. If
think
you're
that
awake.
Our group has a possible t-test, just as you mentioned, from the marital status.
Mhm.
And definitely, I remember one of my teammates in our original research questions asked about households with one parent or two parents. So I think that will help us get to that t-test.
Yes, yes, it will. We're going to be able to do that. So what's going to happen is I'm hoping your data is coming in the next 2 weeks. When we look at the syllabus and you leave for Thanksgiving, I hope most of your data is in, because when we come back, what are we doing? If you didn't notice it, starting before Thanksgiving, everything is just SPSS working on the final project for the last 2 weeks. That's it. That's why I'm saying we're done. You know how to run your descriptive statistics, I think, but we're going to troubleshoot that. I've just shown you how to run a t-test, or if you're going to, every single one of you should probably have a t-test, because guess what is the easiest t-test to run? It's gender. Is there a difference between male and female? So yes, I'm going to answer the questions for you. Every single person right now has a t-test they're going to run to compare two groups, even if it's just male, female. Again, I will make another SPSS video and walk you through summation and t-tests. You wouldn't be able to see it, but I actually have, this is something I made as a quant professor. It's my entire SPSS handbook. And I think I told you it's about 80 pages long, and it tells you how to calculate everything. And I am going to be posting pages from this. And it's written in great humor, if I do say so myself, like the t-test. These are the instructions. Look at the T circled. I think it was funny. If you're lost right now, if you're, line up these actually tell you what to do if you're lost. They tell you how to go ahead and know if it's significant or not. Remember, we're looking for small numbers, 0.05. So at any rate, we'll come back to that. I will post those pages to get you through that. Our next job, everybody's got a t-test. What are you going to run next? You've got 2 more statistical tests I'm going to be asking you to run. So in your paper, just like Allison and my paper here, we were working on this to get, you're going to have your research questions, your hypothesis. This paper, not only was it an A paper, this again was going to be published. I stopped working on it because one of the authors passed away and I got a new job. So it didn't go that route, but it's an excellent paper. So here you see the descriptive statistics, the mean, standard deviation, the alpha level. That's what your homework was just on. Down here, you also saw that t-test. I'm going to walk through a t-test comparison of genders, male, female. We always report the mean, the standard deviation, and the value of t, and if it was significant. And I'm going to show you how to find that off the SPSS. The third statistical test that you will have in your paper is a regression. You will also have a correlation matrix. So those are the two we've yet to talk about, the correlation matrix as well as regression. So let's do that. You guys ready to do that? Or are you going, this is just too much, check? Correlation? Nobody's biting on correlation. Correlation. Well, let's talk about what it is conceptually first, so you understand what a correlation is, and then we'll go back and take a look at the table. I know she has a correlation matrix in here. I feel like I zoom, here it is. It's a very small one, and because it's on two different pages, it's a little messy. So we're going to talk about what a correlation matrix does. A correlation matrix basically tells you if the two variables are correlated. So I'm going to go to now the drawing board, and I suck at it. You saw the video, but it's the easiest way I can explain correlation. I want to know if two variables affect one another. Two continuous interval level variables affect one another. So I want to know that based on a correlation. Correlation runs along this lovely line from 1.0 to negative 1.0. Okay, this is 0. We're dealing with points. This tells me how strongly two things are correlated or how strongly they affect one another. I look at this, I always use smoking as an example. How highly do you think smoking and cancer are correlated? Do you think those two things go together? What percent would you say those two things almost always happen together?
90%.
I think that's probably low, but let's take it. Yes, 0.90. This is a very strong correlation. Very strong. Now, what else goes together? Do you think communication competence and leadership style go together?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are correlated. And actually, your communication competence is also influences what leadership style. If you're not a very competent communicator, you are probably going to use a leadership style less advantageous. They're correlated at some point on this line. Now, got a lot of background noise. If someone has got their mic off, can mute themselves. There we go. Thank you. I like you guys unmuted, but then you have other things going on in the background. So now things can not only be positively correlated, but they can be negatively correlated. So this is where something has a reverse effect. Did you know that it's highly correlated, that the more years you spend in school, the higher your salary will be? I'm going to give that at about, what do you think? Actually, it's higher than this. It just doesn't feel like it. It's actually higher than 0.75. Your education is strongly correlated to how much money you make. That's a positive one. What we mean by a positive correlation is they both grow up at the same time, at the same rate. So the more years I have in school, I've been in school for 25 years, right? I should be making big bucks. But here's reality. That's about it. This is a little, actually, I would say somewhat, mine is negatively related. It seems like the more time I spend in school, my salary keeps going down, and we just got pay cuts due to the budget. So now I did the same one this way. If I have something, no, I'm still on my eraser. If I have something on this line that's correlated at a negative 0.90. Is that strong or weak?
Wrong.
It's very strong. It means these two absolutely are inverse. As one happens, the opposite happens. So let's take a look at it. You guys know which one I use. All the years I spend in school, 25. I'm up here with 25. What if I only spent 2 years in school? What's going to happen to number of years I spend in prison? 0 years in prison, life. These are actually negatively correlated. So see, this 2 is if I spend 25 years in education, how many years am I going to spend in prison? Technically.
0.
Thank you, Riley. If I only have 2 years worth of education, I have a higher chance of spending my life in prison. Do you see how I did that? The two are negatively correlated, highly negatively correlated. All right, I'm going to show you we're running out of time, but I wanted to get the concept of the correlation out. It goes on that scale from negative 1.0 to negative 9.0. I'm going to do another video this week, kind of going through the correlation matrix and how to run it. I'm also going to put up some handouts that tell you exactly how to find out if your t-test is significant. What I want you to know at this point, or what I want you to understand, first off, is just conceptually what a t-test is. I think you guys get that. I will help you when running the data. So if you're still confused on how to do it in SPSS, we're kind of not there yet, but we're heading there when you have your data. So conceptually, what is a t-test? It measures the mean differences between two groups. Looks at the dependent is interval or ratio data, and then the dependent is always nominal. Correlation conceivably looks at how two variables relate to one another. Do they relate negatively or positively to one another? And that's all, and that goes from negative 1.0 to positive 1.0. The stronger the correlation is, the closer to 1. Those are the two concepts. How we're going to calculate those and do that with our data, again, I don't want you to worry about. There's going to be more videos up. You will have an assignment this week, and it will be to run a correlation matrix, just like we did with the descriptive data. So I'm going to prep the data set for you. I will put the data set up. You will open it up, and guess what? I'm going to video exactly how to walk through and run that matrix, just like I did with the statistics homework. I'm going to do that for both. And then the only conceptual piece hanging out there is what regression is. And remember, I went over these conceptually in 350 as well. So I will teach you that way. I think that helps. And someone said it helps to do the homework and watch the video. So I will make a video with a data set that I will give you access to where you can run a correlation matrix. All right, that's a lot of stuff, I know. I told you we were kind of getting into the weeds here this week. If you have survey issues you need to fix, please do so. I do have a class at 11 today. If you are, I can look at surveys if you have a chance to fix them. I can look at surveys after 12 o'clock. I have a few free hours with no appointments that I could check your surveys again. Make those adjustments. We need numbers. So you are going to want to start collecting data as soon as possible. Get these surveys corrected, published, and active. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to put up the rest of the videos and the messaging and the homework and all that good stuff. And I also put one other thing up that I want to show you very quickly, and I know I'm out of time. I put up a rubric for the final paper because you should be thinking about writing the beginning of this paper now. it's time. As you're sitting back just collecting data, this is where you need to start writing. And this is kind of the rubric. The other helpful thing to begin writing your paper, don't laugh at me, is going to be your textbook. And believe it or not, it is a chapter, chapter 5. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 was kind of a boring chapter. Remember I said it just walks you through a paper and how you're supposed to write it? Well, now would be a good time to check out chapter 5. What's a review of literature? What do I put for the methodology? What do I put for conclude? You know, chapter 5 lays out every section of the paper. But with the student sample paper and the rubric, I think you have a pretty good start at what this final paper should look like. And remember, this student sample paper is spot on. You need the abstract there, introduction, review of literature, right off. Every section is the same. You will have these sections as well. You notice it's quite lengthy, the review of literature, label research questions, method. You can, instrumentation, follow this to the T. Every section is there. And how long is this paper? Did anyone check?
34 pages.
Yay! Yeah, pretty short for a research paper. 34 pages, yes. Look at all these references. Okay, I told you I was using a stellar example, but you still have 20 references as well. She had, again, we were looking at publication for this paper. It's a very good paper. And this was produced out of a quant class at Point Loma. So, all right, guys, I'm past my minute. I know that's a lot of info. I'll be following up with videos. Please follow up with me as well. This class was recorded and I will post that so you can see it. Other questions or concerns? I've scared you all away from quantitative data forever. It's not that bad. We're going to get through it. Fix those surveys, collect that data, correlation homework this week, and we will talk more about our last statistical procedure. I'm going to finish lecture next week. That's it. I have one more lecture, really correlation regression. I'll go over it again, but the rest of it is going to be helping you run your data, troubleshooting SPSS, and helping walk you through it. So, all right, get out of here. You have other classes to go to. Have a good week. Correlation coming at you. I'm sneezing.
Dr. Check, real quick, for our group, we might need some other places where we can display our survey.
Yeah. I was
Just because
looking at that. I did send it out today. I was hoping that that I could already have gotten someone to take it, but they didn't.
That's okay.
I just put it out today, Alinka. Let's see how that goes.
Okay.
And excuse me, my nose has just gone crazy on me. So,
I understand.
ooh, you know, when you get that little tickle and it just doesn't go away.
Allergies.
So, as a matter of fact, yeah, I'm going to take a look. Hang in there and let's see. I just put it out. We'll give it a little more time. Even having the class take it isn't going to help too much because I don't think we've got parents.
I don't think so either.
Let's see what happens today. But regardless, whatever data we get, we will work with.
Perfect.
What that's going to end up saying is we may not be able to collect enough data to fully support everything. So if you wanted to use this as a research project down the road, you would need to go back and collect more data first. But I think we can still make it happen. Let's give it a little more time.
Will do. Thank you then.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Dr. Check, I have a question.
Sure.
So I emailed you. I'm not sure. You're probably like,
No, I got your
busy.
email and about the plan.
yeah. So yeah,
I-
mhm.
I may have to create a new one because here's what I think happened. I had my desktop from work here at home, and I was working on that at first. Then I got a new desktop, and I took my old one back to the office.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you got a new one.
I
That's
think
right, I remember.
because I've been searching and I cannot find it. So what I'm going to do is pull up your schedule and I can just look back through it and recreate it.
Okay, yeah. And then my next question was, so last week, I know like we had class on Monday. I was gonna ask, like, if you recorded that because I do remember last week when I was starting the